The wind howled through the broken walls of the old spaceport. Carrying dust and the smell of rusted metal, Ray moved carefully, his boots crunching over shattered glass and cracked tiles. He had been scavenging for hours, looking for batteries, tools, or anything useful. The place had been empty since the last bombing 6 months ago. Or so he thought. Then he heard it. A sound, soft and strange, like a child crying. Ray stopped, heart suddenly alert. He looked around. Hand resting on the handle of his laser pistol, the cry came again high-pitched. Shaky and filled with fear, Ray followed the sound. Passing through a half-collapsed hallway and into a ruined room, sunlight filtered in through broken ceiling. Panels casting golden stripes over the floor. In the far corner, behind a rusted cabinet, he saw her. A small alien girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old in human years. With dark purple skin and glowing green eyes, she was crouched next to a larger body, her arms wrapped tightly around a woman, her mother. "Please help," the girl whispered in broken English, eyes wide with fear. Ray stepped closer, slowly. Kneeling down beside them, the mother was shaking badly, her body twitching, lips dry and pale blue. Her skin was cold to the touch, and her breath came in sharp. Shallow gasps. What happened to her? Ray asked, even though he knew she might not understand. She won't stop shaking, the girl sobbed. Please fix her. Ray looked around quickly, but there was no one else. No medics, no soldiers, no machines left working. Just him, a sick alien woman, and a terrified child in the middle of a wall. Dead city. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around the woman, trying to keep her warm. What's your name? He asked gently, trying to calm the girl. Nira, she said, wiping her tears. Mama is Leia. Ray nodded. Okay, Nira, listen to me. I can't fix her here. But I know a place. He hesitated, looking down at the woman again. If we stay here, she might not make it through the night. Nira grabbed his sleeve. Then don't leave us. I won't, Ray promised, lifting Leia carefully into his arms. She was light. Too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Nira followed him closely, never letting go of his side. The streets outside were empty, burned, and silent. Ray had a small hideout about 2 miles east, an old bunker with medical kits and a working scanner. He kept walking, but something in the shadows made him uneasy. He looked back more than once, but nothing moved. Still, he felt watched, as they walked. Nira spoke quietly. They chased us, she said. Big ones with armor. They said Mama was dangerous. Ray frowned. Why? I don't know, she whispered. They hurt her, then left. Said she couldn't speak or they'd come back. Ray's grip on Leia tightened. What kind of people would do this to a mother and child? Who were they hiding from? He reached the bunker just before sunset, the sky turning orange and red behind them. He unlocked the steel hatch and led them inside. It was dark, but safe, with food, water, and a working med scanner. He laid Leia on the cot and turned on the machine. The screen blinked, scanning her body from head to toe. Then it stopped, flashing red. Implant detected. It said, foreign device unstable. Ray stared at the screen, his stomach twisting. He turned to Nira, who was hugging her knees in the corner. Do you know about this? He asked, pointing at the scanner. Nira nodded slowly. They put it in her. When she screamed, she said, eyes filled with pain. They said, if she talks, it goes boom. Ray felt cold. So that's why Leia hadn't said a word. Not sickness, not weakness, fear, and control. Ray looked at the blinking red warning, then at the little girl watching him with hope. This wasn't just a rescue. This was something deeper, something dangerous. Outside, a faint hum passed over the sky. Ray turned off the lights and pulled Nira close. They were being hunted, and now he was part of it. But he wasn't going to abandon them. Not now, Not ever. The human had become their only lifeline. Asterisk, the wind outside roared like a beast, slamming against the bunker door. Inside, Ray sat beside the scanner, its screen still blinking red with danger. Leia lay unconscious on the cot, her skin pale and her body still shaking. Nira curled up beside her, clutching her hand tightly. Ray had seen war, death, and disaster, but he'd never seen anything like this. He stared at the implant warning again. Unstable device detonation possible. It wasn't just a tracker. It was a bomb, and it was inside her. Ray looked down at the girl. She had fallen asleep. But her hand never left her mother's. He stepped into the next room quietly, locking the door behind him. There was only one option. Now get help. Real help. He turned on the long-range transmitter. Static. Then a faint signal. He adjusted the frequency and spoke. This is Ray Mathers, human scavenger. Requesting emergency assistance, Salian female injured, possible implanted device, child present. He repeated it 3 times and waited. No answer, but someone was listening. Back in the main room, Leia stirred, her eyes opened slowly, glowing with weak golden light. Nira, she whispered, barely audible. Ray stepped forward. She's safe. I found you both. We're in shelter. Leia blinked at him, then shook her head slightly. No. They will come, she gasped. Who? Ray asked. Hunters, she whispered, not bounty. Shadows. Before he could ask more, the scanner made a new sound. It had detected a signal and incoming ping from the implant. Ray's eyes widened. They've locked on. He whispered. He turned off all power, grabbed his backpack, and gently lifted Leia again. Nira, wake up, he said, shaking her softly. Her eyes opened, scared and confused. Where are we going? They found us, he said. We have to move now. Outside, the sky was dark. Stars hidden behind thick clouds. Ray pushed a hover cart out from under debris and placed Leia inside it. Nira climbed in next to her, holding her mother's hand again. The hover cart whirred softly and lifted. Floating a few inches above the ground, Ray began pushing through the ruined streets. His flashlight dimmed to the lowest setting. He moved fast but quiet, listening for any sound. Every shattered building, every dark alley felt like eyes were watching. Then he heard it, a distant clicking noise, too mechanical to be an animal. He ducked behind a wall and turned off the hover cart. The clicking grew louder, then stopped. Something was out there. Nira leaned close, whispering, "They're here." Ray drew his pistol and peeked around the corner. A tall figure moved through the rubble, black armor, glowing visor. No sound of breath. Not a man. Not a machine, something. In between, the hunter scanned the area with a long metal staff that pulsed blue at the tip. Ray's hand tightened on his weapon, but he knew a shot would give them away. He waited, heart pounding, as the hunter moved past their hiding spot. When the sound faded, Ray turned the cart back on and moved again. This time slower, they reached the old rail tunnels. Hidden beneath the city's edge, Ray opened the rusted gate and pulled them inside. Cold air blew through the darkness, but it was safe, at least for now. They walked for another hour, then rested near a broken train. Ray used a med spray on. Leia's skin sheet didn't wake, but the shaking slowed. Nira sat silently, her eyes wide and unblinking. "She saved me," she said suddenly. "Mama took all the pain so I could run." Ray looked at her. "You're very brave," he said. Nira shook her head. "I'm not. I just didn't want to leave her." Ray nodded. Understanding her feeling more than she knew, he checked his map. There was an old human outpost 2 miles ahead. Maybe they had tools. Maybe someone left medical supplies behind as he packed their things. Nira looked up and said, "They called her dangerous." "Why?" Ray paused. "I don't know, but maybe because she knows something." "Or maybe," Nira whispered, Because she's the only one who remembers what happened. Suddenly, the scanner on Ray's wrist blinked red. Another signal was nearby. He turned to Nira. "We need to move again," he said. "More hunters?" She asked. "Maybe worse." Ray answered. The shadows were moving, and the wasteland was watching. But no matter what, Ray knew one thing. He wasn't going to lose them, not now, not after what they'd survived. The child trusted him. The mother needed him, and the wasteland wasn't going to take them without a fight. The sun hadn't risen, but the darkness was already fading. Ray moved quickly through the underground tunnel, pushing the hover cart ahead of him. Every few steps, he glanced behind, his nerves tight like wire. Leia lay still under a thin blanket, her chest rising and falling slowly. Nira sat beside her, gripping the edge of the cart, eyes wide, alert, and silent. They had escaped the Hunter 4 now, but the threat still followed them. The device inside Leia's body wasn't just dangerous. It was a curse, and it was counting down. Ray finally saw the exit, a half-buried hatch near the base of a hill. He pulled the lever, and the rusted door creaked open. Beyond it stood a small human outpost, forgotten by time. Covered in vines and sand, a fallen satellite dish leaned against the broken wall. Most of the buildings were collapsed, but one structure still stood, a short dome with a red medical symbol above its door. Ray didn't hesitate. He pushed the cart inside and sealed the hatch behind them. The lights flickered on, old but functional. Inside were broken chairs, shattered monitors, and empty cabinets. But on the far wall sat a large scanner bed, still powered. Ray gently lifted Leia onto it, then turned to Nira. "Stay close, okay?" Nira nodded and took his hand. Ray activated the scanner, and a soft hum filled the room. Green lights passed over Leia's body, mapping every inch. Suddenly, the screen turned blue, flashing a message. "Warning, foreign object detected." "Type neural suppression bomb," biolocked. Ray stared, his chest tightening. It wasn't just a bomb, it was tied to her brain. If she spoke more than a few words, it could trigger. If anyone tried to remove it without the right code, it would explode. He sat back in the dusty chair, hands running through his hair. "What kind of monsters do this?" he whispered. Nira climbed onto the cot beside her mother, pressing her forehead to Leia's. "She wanted peace," she said, voice shaking. "She never hurt anyone." Ray watched her, feeling anger boil inside him. There was no army, no medic, no team coming to save them. It was just him, a human scavenger, a dying alien mother with a ticking bomb inside her. He looked through the medical cabinet one more time and found something, a small black disk. A memory core, maybe? He plugged it into the scanner, hoping for data, and a message appeared. "Access restricted. Keyholder voice only." Ray stared at it, then at Leia. Her voice. They needed her voice. He turned to Nira. "Did your mom ever speak to machines?" Nira hesitated, then nodded. "She used to talk to ships, doors, things like that. They always listened to her." Ray's eyes lit up. That meant she had command access, maybe to override the device. But she couldn't speak, not without risking her life. Ray paced, thinking. Then he got an idea. He pulled out a translator chip from his belt. He'd found it months ago, thought it was broken. Maybe it could help now. He attached it to the scanner and turned to Leia. "Listen," he said gently. "I know you're in pain, but if you can speak just 3 words, Kami, maybe it'll unlock this file." Leia's eyes fluttered open, full of fear. "Don't." "It will." Ray leaned closer. "We have no choice." She closed her eyes for a moment, then slowly whispered, "Code. Delta.9. The scanner paused, then beeped. "Partial access granted." Ray's heart jumped. He clicked the file, and a video played, a recording of Leia speaking to a group of alien leaders. "We have discovered weapon tech implanted into diplomats without their consent. she said in the recording. They plan to use us as walking bombs. To start a war, to blame others, Ray froze. It wasn't just her. She had been trying to stop a galaxy-wide false flag operation. And now she was paying the price for knowing the truth before the message could finish. The scanner shut down. Red warning. External override detected. Ray grabbed his gun. Someone's jamming us, he said. Neera looked up, trembling. They're coming again. Ray nodded. Worse this time. He grabbed the hovercart and loaded Leia back in. Outside the dome, lights flickered. Silent ships were descending. Neera held Ray's hand tightly. What do we do now? We run, Ray said. But we're not just running anymore. We're carrying a truth someone wants buried. As the door opened and the night wind rushed in, Ray took one last look at the place that almost gave them hope. Then he ran into the darkness with a dying mother, a scared child, and a secret powerful enough to shake the stars. Ray ran through the dead forest, branches snapping under his boots. The hovercart floated behind him, Leia inside it, covered with a blanket. Her face pale and still. Neera held tightly to Ray's hand, her small legs struggling to keep up, but she didn't complain. She knew they were being hunted behind them. The sky turned red for a second, a silent flash across the horizon. Ray didn't look back. That wasn't thunder. That was a ship entering low orbit without sound, without signal. He led them deeper into the forest, where trees grew twisted and close. The leaves were black, the soil cracked and gray. Nature here was long dead, killed by firestorms years ago. But it made good cover. They finally stopped beside a large tree that had split in two, its hollow trunk big enough to hide them. Ray pushed the hovercart inside. Motioning for Neera to stay quiet, he crawled out slowly, checking the skies with his wrist scanner. A single dot blinked red, moving toward them, too fast, too smooth. Not a drone, a hunter. Ray cursed under his breath, then reached into his pack and pulled out a mirror chip. He pressed it to a stone, activated the image, then ran in the opposite direction. The mirror would show movement, heat, footsteps. It would trick them for maybe 30 seconds. Maybe. Neera stayed beside her mother, her hands shaking. She stared at Leia's face, whispering, "Please stay with me." Mama Leia's eyes fluttered open for a second, and her lips moved, but no words came, only the slightest smile. Then silence again, outside. Ray ducked behind a rock formation. The hunter entered the clearing, dressed in dark armor that shimmered like oil. Its face was hidden behind a silver visor. It moved silently, its boots not making a sound. It stopped, scanning the false trail Ray had made. Then it turned its head sharply toward the tree. Ray's heart dropped. He raised his weapon and fired, not at the hunter, but at a distant log, making noise. The hunter snapped around and followed the sound. Ray dashed back toward the tree, pulling Neera and the cart out of the trunk. "We have to move," he whispered. Now they ran toward a nearby cave entrance Ray remembered from an old map. It was part of a broken mine sealed long ago, but still deep, if they could reach it. Maybe the walls would block the tracker. They entered just as another flash lit the sky behind them. Inside, it was pitch black. Ray turned on a LORAD light and followed the rusted rails deeper inside. The walls were tight, the air thick with dust and silence. "This place. It feels like it remembers pain," Neera said softly. Ray looked at her but didn't answer. She was right. This cave had seen death before. He could feel it too. At last, they reached a small metal room deep inside. It used to be a rest station for miners. Now, it was their best chance. Ray placed Leia on the metal bench, her breathing still shallow. Neera sat beside her, holding her hand, tears quietly running down her cheeks. Ray looked through a cabinet, finding a few old power cells, enough to charge his scanner and maybe send a short-range signal. He connected the wires and began typing. Suddenly, the screen flashed incoming transmission. A voice, filtered and robotic, spoke. "You have what we want. Human. Surrender the child and the memory." Ray froze. They knew. They weren't hunting for Leaf. They were after Nira. She wasn't just a witness. She was the carrier of the memory, maybe even the encryption key. Ray typed back, "You'll never get her." The reply came instantly. "You cannot hide. Forever, your kindness makes you weak." She was designed to be replaced, not protected. Ray's fists clenched. He turned off the scanner and ripped out the battery. He knelt beside Nira. "Listen to me," he said gently. "They don't care about your mother or you. They just want information." She nodded slowly. "I don't want to be a thing," she whispered. "I just want to be a daughter." "You are," Ray said firmly. "You always were." From above, a deep rumble echoed. Something was entering the cave. Ray stood, gun in hand, facing the tunnel. He had no backup, no reinforcements, no shield, just a promise he made to a child who cried in the ruins and a mother who still hadn't let go. The tunnel shook again. Louder this time, dust fell from the ceiling, and small rocks tumbled down the walls. Ray stood with his back to Nira and Leia, weapon raised toward the darkness ahead. His breath was slow but sharp, focused like a soldier who had nothing left to lose. Behind him, Leia stirred, her body still trembling, but her eyes fluttered open. Nira rushed to her side, holding her mother's hand tightly. "Mama," she whispered, "don't leave me." Ray glanced back just once. Leia's eyes met his, glowing softly in the low red light. There was something new in them, something clear. "Acceptance. She's awake," Nira said, tears falling. "Again, but she's so cold." Leia opened her mouth, her voice like broken glass in wind. "Ray," she said slowly, "you must protect the truth." He turned fully now, walking to her side. "I will, I swear it," he said, "but I don't even know what it is yet." Leia turned her head toward Nira, her hand gently touching her daughter's face. "She remembers everything," she whispered. "She is the record, the witness, and the lock." Ray's eyes narrowed. "You put the encryption key inside her mind." Leia gave a slow nod. "She is more than data. She is proof." Another blast shook the cave, this time closer. Ray cursed and looked toward the door. Time was running out. Leia coughed violently, blood on her lips now. "Mama?" Nira screamed, grabbing her tighter. Ray dropped beside her again, trying to calm her. "You need to hold on," he said. "There has to be more codes, names, something." Leia smiled weakly. "It's all inside her, but she needs you." Ray didn't speak, but his jaw tightened. He understood. Nira wasn't just a child anymore. She carried the weight of a mother's mission. And that weight now belonged to him too. Leia reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small glowing stone. It pulsed like a heartbeat, blue and warm. She pressed it into Ray's hand. "This will unlock the rest, but only when she's ready." Ray looked down at the stone, unsure what to say, before he could speak again. The sound of boots echoed from the tunnel, fast, heavy, unkind. Leia's eyes turned toward her daughter. Her voice dropped to a whisper, barely louder than a breath. "Nira," she said softly, "my light, my love. No matter what happens, remember, I chose this." The child clung to her mother, her tears silent now, soaking into the blanket. Ray placed a hand on Leia's forehead. "Rest. You've done enough," he said. Leia gave a final shaky breath. Then her body relaxed. Still, Nira didn't cry out. She just held her mother, quietly. Her small shoulders shook. But she didn't make a sound. Ray stood, fists clenched, heart thundering in his chest. The echo of footsteps grew louder, closer, no longer hiding. The enemy knew Leia was dead now, and they didn't care. They wanted the girl. Rey looked down at Nira, who wiped her eyes and stood too. She took the glowing stone from his hand and held it against her chest. "I'm ready," she whispered. Rey stared at her, stunned. The stone pulsed once, then faded. Its job done. In that moment, something changed in her. Her eyes lit with blue light, her posture straightened, and a faint shimmer moved across her skin. A memory protocol had been triggered. Rey felt a scanner on his wrist buzz. A message appeared, encrypted. Data now accessible host activated. Then the tunnel entrance exploded. Rock and flame bursting into the room. Rey grabbed Nira and rolled behind a fallen crate. Shielding her with his body, through the smoke walked two figures tall, armored faces hidden behind glowing masks. "We only want the girl," one said. In a flat, cruel voice, Rey stepped in front of her, weapon raised. "Then you'll have to kill me," he replied. "That can be arranged," the voice answered. But before they could shoot, Nira stepped forward. "No," she said, her voice calm but full of power. "I will not be your weapon." The lights in the cave flickered, the enemy's visors glitched, and sparks flew from their gear. Nira's presence disrupted their systems. She was fighting them not with guns, but with the truth hidden inside her. The figures stumbled, confused, blinded. Rey didn't waste time. He pulled the trigger. Once, we pulled the trigger. Once, fall, hunters fell. Sparks flying from their suits. Silence returned to the cave. Rey turned to Nira, who was breathing hard. Her light fading. She looked up at him and whispered, "Did I do okay?" Rey dropped to one knee, wrapped his arms around her. "You did more than okay," he said, voice breaking. "You made her proud, in that cold cave, beside the body of a brave mother. A human and an alien child began a new journey, one born of sacrifice, truth, and something stronger than war hope." Asterisk smoke still hung in the air as Rey carried Nira up the narrow shaft. Her body was light in his arms, her breathing soft, her head resting against his chest. They had escaped the hunters barely, but Rey knew more would come. He had to reach the last place he knew was safe, a place he never thought he'd return to. They climbed until they reached the surface. The sky above was turning gray, morning, creeping in slowly like a tired ghost. Rey checked the map on his wrist, scanner northwest, 20 kilometers, an old moon base he helped build years ago. Back when he was a soldier, not a scavenger. Back when he believed in things like peace. They moved through the empty plains, silent and scorched. Rey had found a small crawler cart hidden under wreckage. He strapped Nira in and started the engine. The machine hummed quietly as they rolled across the wasteland. Hours passed, the sun rising higher. Rey kept checking behind them, nothing. But he didn't relax. He knew how silence could lie. Nira finally stirred. Opening her eyes, she looked up at him, confused. "Where are we?" she asked. "Heading to the only place that might help us." He said, "A base I once knew, where smart people worked, maybe one, is still alive." She nodded, leaning back again. Rey could see she was exhausted physically and mentally. The activation of the memory protocol had taken a toll on her. Her skin still glowed faintly. Her eyes flickered with coded light. She wasn't just remembering things now. She was becoming something. At last, they saw the old base, half buried in red dust. It was shaped like a dome, smooth and white. Time had cracked its surface. But the main door still stood. Sealed tight, Rey approached and placed his hand on the panel. "Identify," said a mechanical voice. "Rey Mathers," he replied, former security engineer, clearance level 4, voice match confirmed. The system replied, "Welcome back, Rey." The door opened with a loud hiss, dust spilling into the air. Inside, the lights flickered on dim. but working. The air was clean. The temperature warm. He pushed the cart in and helped Nira out. She looked around slowly, wide-eyed. This place feels calm, she whispered. It was built to protect life, not end it, Ray said. Let's hope that still means something. They moved through the halls until they reached the med bay. Ray placed Nira on a soft bench and activated the main AI system. The base's artificial intelligence blinked to life, a glowing orb in the center of the room. System online, it said. Identify needs. Ray uploaded the memory core from Leia and showed the AI the scan data. I need to stabilize the girl, remove any trace of the device from her, and unlock whatever her mother hid inside. The AI paused. Subject is bioenhanced carrier class, it replied. System requires override clearance or creator's command key. Ray pulled out the glowing stone the one Leia gave him. Nira held it in her hand, and it lit again. Pulsing with soft warmth, she placed it on the scanner, and the AI responded instantly. Creator key accepted, proceeding with stabilization. A soft blue light surrounded her, lifting her slightly from the bed. Ray stepped back as machines scanned her, checking her vitals, repairing small internal damages. Her skin glowed brighter for a moment, then slowly dimmed. The light faded, and she lowered back to the bench, asleep but peaceful. The AI spoke again. The implant has been neutralized. Host stable. Full memory access restored. Ray sat down, the weight finally hitting him. They had done it. Leia's final wish, to save her daughter. To pass on the truth, it had worked. Nira slept quietly, her chest rising and falling in rhythm. Ray stood and walked to the control room. He activated a long-range signal, a distress call. But this time, not for help. It carried the full memory file, the recordings, the encryption, Leia's voice, Nira's memory, all of it. He sent it across every major network, human and alien. The truth would spread faster than any lie could stop it. He returned to the medbay, just as Nira woke. She looked around, then at him. Did it work? She asked. He smiled, tired but proud. It worked, he said. You're free. She sat up slowly, and Mama. Ray knelt beside her. She's gone, he said. But what she did, it changed everything. Nira nodded, wiping her eyes. She always said the truth matters, even if it hurts. Ray placed a hand on her shoulder. And now you carry it forward in the silence of the old base, with broken walls and forgotten machines. A girl and a man sat quietly, knowing the storm outside would come. But this time, they weren't running. They were ready. The stars above the old moon base looked peaceful. But Ray knew peace was a lie the galaxy liked to tell. Since the broadcast went out, the one carrying Leia's truth and Nira's memory, the silence had been deafening. No messages, no threats. No rescue, just stillness. Ray stood on the rooftop, eyes on the stars. Hand resting on his old rifle, he was waiting for the first sign ships arriving. Sensors blinking, a new voice over the comm. Beside him stood Nira. Dressed in clean clothes the AI printed for her. She looked taller now, stronger, her eyes calmer but still glowing faintly with blue memory light. You think they heard us? She asked. Ray nodded slowly. Oh, they heard, he said. It's what they'll do about it that worries me. She looked up at the sky, her small hand holding tightly to his. I'm not afraid anymore, she said. Ray gave a tired smile. That's because you're braver than most people I know. Below, in the base, the AI worked silently. Storing files, replicating evidence, preparing backups. The truth Leia died to protect had already started spreading. A few rogue stations had broadcast pieces of it. Others had gone dark. Some governments denied it. Others stayed quiet. But the message was out. Ray and Nira sat near the edge of the platform, their legs hanging over the side. She held a small crystal, Leia's last memory. She hadn't opened it yet. Not because she couldn't, but because she wasn't ready. Why do they hate the truth? She asked softly. Because the truth breaks the control they built, Ray answered. It shows people they've been lied to. Neera looked down at the cube, then placed it in Ray's hands. You keep it, she said. She trusted you. 2. Ray held it gently, as if it could shatter with a single wrong breath. I'll guard it with my life, he promised. Suddenly, the scanner on Ray's wrist beeped 3 ships entering orbit. No warning, no ID. Ray stood fast, pulling. Neera behind him, but the voice that came through the speaker wasn't a threat, it was a whisper. Is this the one who holds the child? The voice asked. Ray pressed the button. Who's asking? A friend, the voice said. We believed the lies too, until we saw what she sent. The ships landed outside the base. Dust clouds rising, Ray and Neera walked out together. Side by side, from the ship stepped a woman in armor, part human, part alien. Her badge carried both flags. She bowed deeply to Neera. We were looking for weapons, she said. Instead, we found a living truth. Neera didn't speak. She just held Ray's hand tighter. The woman turned to him. The girl is important. Some will want to protect. Her others will try to use her. Ray didn't hesitate. She stays with me, he said. The woman nodded. Then you must come with us. We need your help. Ray looked at Neera. She met his eyes and smiled for the first time in days. You're my lifeline, she said. He smiled back. And you're mine? They boarded the ship together, leaving behind the broken base. The hollow cave, the red sand, but not the memories. Never the memories. As the ship rose into the stars, Ray sat beside Neera. She leaned against him, safe. Do you think Mama can see us now? She whispered. Ray looked out the window at the stars. I think she always could. The galaxy had tried to silence a mother, erase her child, and bury the truth, but it failed. Because one human listened, one man carried a stranger through. Fire protected a girl with a secret worth more than weapons and gave hope to someone who was never meant to survive. And in return, he found something no war, no machine, no lie could ever offer: family. In the cold darkness of space, 2 hands stayed locked together. One small, glowing with light, one strong, scarred by battle, but both holding on for the same reason. They were each other's lifeline.